Hello, welcome to Series 4, and today we've got a treat for you. The premiere episode of Season 4 shows a returning guest, Jonny from Series 2, and he's going to be talking about his amazing motorcycle adventure through Vietnam, and it's going to be a two-parter as well, so stay tuned for the second part as well, which will be coming out in a few weeks' time, where he talks about his future plans. So, let's speak about that. You're listening to Infinite Prattle with your host, Stephen. Thanks for joining me for unscripted, unedited, everything. Hello, Jonny. Welcome back. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, thank you for inviting me back up to your lovely home and accommodating the podcast for another 2 episodes.
My pleasure.
It's helping me out greatly. It saves people's ears from my prattling conversation constantly. So we've got a new feature in guest speak this season. If we get more than one guest, that is. So I've bought like a set of conversational dice. So I've asked Jonny to pick a colour and roll a dice, and the question that he got for his conversation dice was, "What are you most proud of?" So what are you most proud of, Jonny?
I think easily the boys, both my kids.
Both your lads? Nice one.
Both my lads. Loving the rugby, well behaved, well mannered, and generally not a handful most of the time. So only with each other. So yeah, definitely,
mate, definitely. I've seen the videos and playing rugby, so I think future stars there. I think.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Nice one. So I've come back up to speak to you because last time we were here, check out them episodes in series number 2. Oh, the dog's going wild. It's typical in the background. Everyone that listens to my show knows that everything goes wrong. Expect things falling off the table and other such malarkey. So that's chaos in the background.
Yeah, it was. He doesn't really bark very often, so I don't know.
It's a cracking name for a dog, though, so I don't even care. He's lovely. Chaos the dog. That's just it's amazing.
Great name for a toy poodle.
Exactly. Well, what else are you going to name a toy poodle? Let's face it. So we got. So last time I was up here, it was 10 months ago, which is scary. I can't believe it's that long ago. And that was during Season 2 where you talked about the Arctic adventure that you had, and you talked about going to Vietnam. But now we're here, post the Vietnam trip, so...
Yeah, hold on.
How did it go? Like, it happened, and you're back, and I'm very, very jealous.
We went in 30th of August, so we were there for the best part of 3 weeks.
Wow.
Definitely a long and arduous month. I don't think we expected it to be as much effort as it was, but incredible.
What was the weather like?
I
saw you got wet a few times.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the rainy season, but to be honest, it probably only rained for 2 or 3 days, and it tended to be a downpour for an hour or 2 hours, and then it'd be back to being 30 degrees again.
Was it like humid though because of that? Was it like, or was it?
Not
was
this
it
time
okay?
of year. It was all right.
Right?
It was sort of like a hot summer here. It wasn't too humid, so it was bearable.
Really?
It wasn't uncomfortable at all.
I was kind of worried that I was thinking, I'd love to do that. But I was thinking, I feel like I'd melt and die because of the humidity and stuff.
Yeah, we got caught in a few showers that were absolutely biblical, to be honest, at one point. But then it'd stop, and you would be driving in 30 degrees and drying out again.
Yeah,
so it was fine.
It's always just like that weird thing, isn't it? You get soaking, but then it just goes really hot again, and then before you know it, you dry again, and it's like, oh.
It tends to be you're soaking on the front riding in it, and your back was dry, and then it'd stop for a coffee and whatnot, dry out, and then the same again.
So how long did you go for again, was it?
Just under 3 weeks.
3 weeks,
it was,
I remember following you on Instagram, and I was just, every time when I was in the office working, and it was dreary outside, and I don't have a motorbike still, so every time I saw you on a motorbike in Vietnam, I was like,
the intention was to try and, we based it on the Top Gear route that they'd done, but with the idea that they'd only done 1,000 miles. So we wanted to push it further. But that was the base of what the idea was. So the plan was to go from Saigon to Hanoi, but go via the mountains, the jungle, up to Halong Bay, try and really capture as much of the country as we could. So that was the initial scope for it.
That was what you were trying to get.
I think it was about 1,700 miles or something. 1,800 miles. Yeah,
That's crazy. So what bikes were you on? That's the main thing.
Yeah, well, we looked to try and find something that would be suitable out there, and realize that the options are limited. You either hire a scooter, or at best you can get sort of a 400. But we found 2 Honda CRF 250s sort of crossers. So we went with them. They weren't as good quality when we got there. When we looked on the website, they were saying, they're 2020 bikes, they're quite new, everything will be pristine. And we got there, and I think they had 40,000 kilometers on them each already, so they'd been literally muddled together.
I suppose that's like probably like you find a lot of Eastern countries though, like bikes are the thing to get around on. Like, I mean, even in Europe, like everyone's got mopeds and stuff like that, haven't they? So it's probably like they'd be quite new bikes, but they get absolutely hammered, don't they?
Yeah, so, I mean, they must have been ridden continuously for 3 years.
Yeah,
but no, they were the best we could get out there, so not too bad at all.
You find that in countries like that. I've never been Vietnam or anything like that, but some mates have gone. They try to hire bikes and stuff, and to try and get anything over like a 400-500cc is near an impossible task.
I'll give them a plug. We used a company called Flamingo Travel, which at the outset sounds like a bit of a two-bit company, but they had the reason for choosing them was they had office in Saigon, an office halfway up Vietnam, and an office at Hanoi.
Right.
So it allowed us to, if we needed support, we could literally call and they'd send somebody out. But to be fair, we picked the bike up and it was literally like pulling up to somebody's house and they had a load of bikes underneath. Did all the paperwork. They gave us the bikes with the top boxes and everything, and gave us spare inner tubes, toolkits for changing the tyres.
Really?
So yeah, they were really good, to be honest.
That's kind of support and stuff you kind of need, isn't it? Because like you're out there, you've not got any RAC cover or anything like that, so you need to know that you're going to be looked after.
All they said to us was, after 1,000 kilometres or 1,200 kilometres, can you please pull over and get an oil change?
Right.
And we said, where? And they said, any Honda dealership. And we thought, well, is it going to be that easy? And literally, after 1,200 kilometres, pulled into a Honda dealership, and it was like going to one in the UK, pristine, amazing. And
I remember seeing the post, and I was thinking, what the hell?
We just pulled in and said, can we have oil? And they were like, yeah, not a problem. Straight away, did it immediately. So, I mean, it is the most bikey country I've ever been to. Everybody has. If there's any problems with the bikes, just pull over. Yeah. There's just a bike shop after bike shop along the roads. It's crazy.
That's ace. That is ace. What do you find? Have you ever been to Vietnam before? Like, what do you think of the country? Like,
that was amazing. Yeah, I mean, we flew in to Saigon and had 3 days there just to sort of. We would think get over the jet lag, but we didn't really have any. It was okay. And I'd been to Asia before, to Hong Kong and Taipei and places, and it was fantastic. But the Vietnamese are just the friendliest people. All they want to do is sell their country to you.
Yes.
So whatever we did, they were just so proud that we were there asking, we were taking photos of things and they were loving it. The hotel staff were always amazing. Everyone that we met, to put the people into how good they are. The first day we rode the bike, so like day 4 we were there.
Yeah.
We got out of Saigon, which was a nightmare because we made the mistake of not having a sat nav. Thinking, it's only one road. Literally, the road signs are impossible to follow. So I think we'd been riding for like 2 hours and we're still within Saigon city limits. And
really,
we had like 4 more hours to go, and we pulled over and it was absolutely pissing it down. We're on the side of the road, like 2 Westerners with a map in the rain, and a moped pulled up with a guy on. He spoke broken English, asked where we were going, and he said he's going camping up that way on a bike. So he said, you can follow me for 50 kilometres. He followed us. He took us out of Saigon, like up the road for probably 2 hours, pulled over to a coffee shop, bought us coffee.
Is that the one you had coffee with?
Yeah.
I remember seeing pictures of you like with this guy that you said he'd helped you out and stuff.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
Literally. And then he was like, right, you need to download a sat nav to follow. There's loads that are available. Because after leaving him, we couldn't download the sat nav there. So the first day was the worst on the bikes. I mean, it took us 8 hours to do 200 kilometers. And we were literally, I mean, it got to the point where at the end I was ready to quit and fly home. It was that stressful. In the dark, no signs, a map. It was just, I thought we're never going to get there.
The thing is, though, if you did that in this country, if you're like, I don't know where I am,
yeah,
you're in an English-speaking country, it's your own country, you're fine, but and it's normal, you're used to these conditions, it's normal roads, it's normal urban environments and stuff, even countryside, it's not that bad in this country, is it?
Well, the problem we had was that the EE and all the British networks are not supported in Vietnam. So you had no cell reception at all.
So it was Wi-Fi or nothing, really.
Yeah, and that was all you had. So when we finally got to where we're going on the coast, we managed to find an app called Syngic, which is a sat nav that somehow works without phone signal. So you download the maps on Wi-Fi, and there must be some sort of reception going to and from your phone still. But,
some sort of GPS kind of sort of stuff,
and,
like location.
My friend Ian that I do the trips with, he's into telecoms and everything. He tried to explain it, and I said, listen,
it works.
You might as well be talking. Yeah, you might as well be talking French to me. It fucking works and it saved the trip. Because we would not have been able to do that trip without sat nav.
No,
it would have been impossible.
I think it's one of the things like I would love to go to Vietnam, and I think it's definitely to ride a bike as well. I think that'd be ace. Like I remember the Top Gear episode myself, and I've always wanted to go there. And after seeing that, I was thinking that looks bloody brilliant. Like, but
yeah,
I think it's them things that you're seeing like dirt roads fundamentally sometimes, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's like, and if you came across a road like that in this country, you'd just be like, oh, it's a farmer's field, or this is a dirt track to a farmland or something. Whereas that's what their roads are.
It was really one extreme to the other. So we went from these like super heated highways that were absolutely pristine. The rules on the road in Vietnam are you don't give way to anything smaller than yourself. You just ignore them. So lorries would be doing U-turns on motorways and not indicate, not do anything. The car just had to swerve. And obviously we had to swerve the cars, but there are no rules. I mean, they said to us when we picked the bikes up, oh, it's 70 kilometres an hour is the national speed limit. We were going past, not thinking, you just sat at 60 miles an hour feeling the speed. The police are just waving to you and like sticking the thumbs up, and we had the GoPros on, and they were just loving the fact that we were there. But when we would go inland, because we went from Saigon to the coast, and then from the coast up to the mountains to Dalat, really the route Top Gear went. And on the way to Dalat, it was like you say, you're going from 2 lanes to 1 lane to pothole covered routes through the mountains and up to the jungles and everything, and it was incredible. But then coming back down, they were like racetracks. It was perfect tarmac, pristine, with chicanes, everything there. I mean, I can't believe the quality of the roads that they have there, but I suppose it's because they don't have a lot of cars ruining it. So it's just bikes. They see, they're not seeing the wear.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we would get on from the road to Nha Trang, I think it was just from the mountains, literally like a racetrack for 100 kilometres.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy.
Incredible.
And you say you got that like weird, like extreme then, haven't you, of having roads like that and then going to like a whole road probably, and like the worst probably road you could probably think of as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can honestly say there's a few roads where we went off the beaten track, and the sat nav took us that way.
Yeah.
And they were really like just tracks. I mean, some of the videos were in the middle of like the jungle, just completely out of our depth. Thanking God that we had the Sinji cap, but generally the normal A's and B roads are far better quality than this country. This country is it's just shocking compared to what it was like in Vietnam.
Yeah, and that's crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? Like you're in a remote location and they've got a pristine road, and then going down a high street in Hull.
Yeah,
you've got like the pothole fit a lorry in.
It was strange because there were certain points on there that we'd seen on the Top Gear episodes, like the High Van Pass, that we were really looking forward to. I don't know why Top Gear put that on there, because the routes that they would have taken from there were so much better. Coming from Dalat down through the jungle was just, I think it was about 130 kilometres, and the scenery was just breathtaking. There was everything you can think of, from ravines to waterfalls to mountains to rivers to jungles. And what surprised me was coming through that country, we expected it to be really humid and hot, but we were that high up that you were going through pine forests, and it was just like there was pines and mist and everything. And yeah, it was one extreme to the other, then down to tropical jungle and then towards the coast. But yeah, it was
proper journey for a lifetime kind of thing. Like, one of them experiences that'll stay with you forever kind of thing.
Yeah, I know we mentioned last time about the amount of prep we put in.
Yeah.
But we still did the same, just using booking.com and thinking, oh, well, that looks all right. And there were some days when it was like, what made this a long time? On a 250 as well. Oh, we've only got 250 kilometres. But when you're doing a low speed on tracks, it was sometimes 10 hours. It was intense.
And that's a long time to be on a bike, isn't it? It's a long time
on an uncomfortable bike.
On a bike that you're not used to, and it's uncomfortable, and you've got all your stuff with you because
I don't think we'd appreciate. I'd not ridden a crosser in years, and the vibrations on there. I had my phone strapped to the handlebars, the sat nav, and it literally broke my phone. So the camera was ruined. It wouldn't set. The vibration shocked. There was no dampener. We had obviously no cruise control or anything because they're not designed for it. But yeah, it was. Insane, they took some hammer.
That's insane. That's insane. Okay. Honestly, like having ridden a bike for long durations of time on nice roads, I can't even imagine what that was like. It's,
to be fair, I mean, considering how much wear the bikes had, we had no mechanical issues. My bike would struggle when it rained. That you used to have to jiggle the electrics a little bit, but it would always start. Generally, it used to cut out occasionally. Ian's bike was fine until he got a puncture in the rear tyre, and in the front tyre, of which case I absolutely blamed him and said it was rider error. But we'd got it before getting on the boat to Halon Bay. So everyone, you know, when you look at Vietnam, you're like, Halon Bay looks incredible. It's all those islands coming out. It was the only disappointment on the trip.
Really?
Because it was so filthy. The water was just
polluted kind of thing.
Yeah, there was so much stuff, obviously, and there was thousands of boats around there, just like with, you know, like chartered ferries and cruise ships and things. But he'd got a puncture just before we boarded the boat to get to the island. And when we were sat on the boat, and we managed to speak Google Translate to some young lad. And he said, "Oh yeah, my uncle can fix that." So we limped 5 kilometers, thinking, "Oh, he must have a garage." And it was just his uncle's house.
Really?
So I sat there for 2 hours while Ian and this Vietnamese guy in his late 60s tried to wedge a bike up on a brick and a bit of. I mean, he fixed it.
Yeah.
But we gave him some money, he wouldn't take it.
That's so cool.
They were just, I think they're just. So cool. We got loads of photos, and they were so helpful. But I mean, touch wood. If someone had said the only thing you're going to have wrong with the bikes is a puncture, and a little bit of jiggly ignition,
you'd have taken that kind of thing.
Off, yeah, absolutely. Because it was just, if there would have been a problem, you can literally throw a stone at a bike shop over there. You can't miss them; they're all over.
So that's so amazing. Like you wouldn't think, would you? Like it, especially in somewhere that's remoter as well. Like the the be somewhere to repair. But it's like as you've experienced there with the punches, local people have their own. Their own skills to do stuff anyway, because I suppose they have to in a way, don't they?
We stopped in the jungle, and there was a cafe in the middle of nowhere up on a ravine, and we went up there, and all they wanted to do was you've got to try this, you've got to have this, and it was they're just the best people I've ever met when I've been away. They couldn't do enough for you. Everyone that went by would wave. You were going through, if there was kids around, they're just all waving to you, because obviously we had quite a bit of luggage on the bikes as well. Yeah. Which was pretty much just strapped on as best we could.
Probably thought you were famous, some famous adventurers like Hugh McGregor.
Either that, or they thought we were complete idiots. Look at
them idiots, what they do.
Two Englishmen sort of blubbering their way around Vietnam, getting lost, and but no, it was fantastic. Everything from the culture to the food was phenomenal. I mean, the hotels, because we'd gone out a holiday season, we were pulling up at these hotels that we'd found on Booking.com that were absolutely nothing. And there were 5-star. It was like staying at, the Shard and place. I had no exaggeration that there were these huge skyscrapers in these little towns that were just empty. There was a few. We stayed at one resort. I think it was Coco Land River Beach, and we thought, it don't look great on the photos. And we got there, and it was phenomenal. That's the one with the big infinity pools everywhere.
Oh, is that the one where you?
Yeah, there's nobody there. There's nobody there.
That's crazy. Though.
Saying, if you need anything, just give us a shout. Who uses these for 3-4 months of the year? It was.
So I suppose it goes to show the difference in cost of living and stuff like that over there. A hotel there that's 5-star would cost probably the same price as a Premier Inn over here kind of thing. It
was strange because some things were really the price was very similar, and others there was just such a massive gap. If you were eating at the hotels, you might as well be eating here. As soon as you'd gone out into the restaurants. I mean, I said every night it almost seemed like we were saying to each other, "Oh, this is the best meal we've ever had." And then we got to Hanoi at the end, and we were looking at these little plates, and I ordered loads. There was loads of different things. I can honestly say, I was saying to Ian, "This is the best food we've had all trip," and he was adamant that it was some fried rice he'd had a week ago. I couldn't even remember we'd had that much fried rice, but it was hard work though. It wasn't a holiday, and I think. There's areas that I'd go back to. Hoi An was incredible, and that's the one you see with the floating lanterns on the night time. So it's almost like you imagine somewhere like Singapore to be 300 years ago. Really, the way I can describe it is a bit like almost like York, where everything's really ancient. So there was a lot of narrow streets around a river. And that was the best place that we visited. If I was going to go back to Vietnam, I would definitely go to Hoi An.
A more traditional kind of.
Yeah,
what you imagine it was, as you say, what you imagine it was years ago kind of thing.
I think there's a few. Hoi An was amazing, and when we stayed at the temples in the very north near the border, before we went to the islands, that again was spectacular. We got the cable car up the mountains just to get off the bikes for a bit because we'd done so much riding, and by that point I was ready to just push the bike in the pool. It was like we've got 3 days left, and I just had it. I loved it, but at the same point, getting on the bike, it still was like, oh Christ, And
I think the thing though, when you're doing something like that, it's amazing, but it's every day on a bike.
Yeah.
And
And it's not short days either. No. When we stayed in the north where the temples are, we stayed for 2 nights, and it was like, right, we don't want to touch the bike for 2 days. We got the cable car up the mountains and then hiked the rest of the way. So we went to where the temples are above the clouds, like on a ridge. So you've seen some of the photos, the clouds are coming in at one side and it's sunny at the other. And there's like obviously people praying up there, but even you get to the top and there's little like market stalls and they're just happy to see you. They're not trying to force anything on you for like sales or anything. They're just like, really proud of the culture. And it was just fantastic. You know, the people that were around everywhere you went, they were just trying to, really proud of where they're from.
Making me happy just thinking about someone being like that, really.
They were unbelievable. I can honestly say, when we were flying back, the takeaway from that country was just the people. Straight away, as beautiful as the place was, and amazing as the culture was, it was the attitude of people towards us. I mean, we were just so happy to see you, and it was crazy, you know. And granted, we weren't in the most touristy places generally, so we're probably not what they normally see, but they loved it. And we were just like so humbled by it, and wanted to speak to everybody. You wanted
to be part of that kind of thing, and they welcomed you in by the sounds of it, open arms,
all the time. They just can't do enough for you.
So cool. It's so nice that like you go to a country and you are welcome like that, and there's that hospitality, and you kind of made to feel special almost.
Yeah, I mean, we started it with I say we had the 3 days in Saigon, and because we wanted to see the tunnels and everything from the war. Like when we were planning it, Ian was saying to me, "If we're going, I'm going down them tunnels before we start." I'm like, okay. So I went along, and as we tend to do, he wants to do the historical stuff, and I'll go along, and that's great. You know, I love it. It's interesting, but watching the conditions that they must have had to put up with, you can see why they're such a resolute nation, and so much together, and
there's still probably a lot of historic stuff that's lasted from Vietnam War and stuff that's they can't forget, and it's still in their culture.
The sense of national pride is unbelievable there, and I think just talking to people that they would go out of their way to sort of help you or to speak to you or to ask about you. So we're pulling up at some of these big hotels, and obviously some of the cities we stayed in and the towns were not tourist destinations, but they had these huge hotels, obviously for business people to stay out for conferences and things, because it's all sort of changing a little bit. But the guys on the door would be like, not seen bikes like that before. So they were asking to sit on the bikes and can we take a photo of the bikes? I'm like, yeah, crack on.
That's so cool.
Everyone you're in the middle of nowhere and people are just waving, and either that or they're waving going, those guys are idiots. Look at them bumbling around this country.
I like that's like the British expectation of it. Like they're being nice to us because they think we're mental. Like
I think it was a trip that physically was really intense. Like we spoke before, we've done a lot of the long distance riding. It wasn't the longest trip by a long stretch.
No,
but it was definitely the most physically demanding because of the bikes and the heat and the condition of some of the smaller roads and the distances. When we're looking, going, it's only 200 kilometers. It's easy. We do it in the morning normally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then it was like, how many have we done today? 60. And it's like, I've been riding 4 hours. Because the traffic sometimes was just, when you get into the cities, the only way I can describe the traffic is you're on a junction and it's like trying to get onto a lazy river. So if you're getting off further on, you want to be on the outside because you're not crossing it, so you just sort of go with the flow of traffic around, but there's just thousands and thousands of bikes everywhere. And like I say, you don't look behind you. If people are behind you, it's up to them to move and get around you. So never ever, we didn't use mirrors once. It was just a case of ignore the mirrors because there's too much carnage behind us.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on pointing the bike into space.
The bike in a space,
into space, and then get through it. That was literally all it was.
That's insane, that is, man. That's and on that note, I think we'll wrap up the first part of this. So, thank you again for joining us, Jonny.
My pleasure.
And we'll stay tuned. In a couple of weeks, we'll have part 2 of the episode. So, so in part 2, we'll hear a bit more about what you're planning next. So tune in for part 2, and thank you, Jonny, and we'll speak to you again soon. Thanks for listening to Infinite Prattle with your host, Stephen. Follow me on social networks at Infinite Prattle, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much.